The running back reset is here, and not only do we have a very talented group of rookie running backs, but the free agency class of running backs is pretty deep as well. There's a lot of talent in this group, and we're getting a lot of running backs that are getting ready to change spots. We have more running backs available when you throw in the rookie running backs and the free agents together than we do actual jobs. This is going to jumble things up and make things very hectic and crazy. Some of these running backs are going to go to good spots. Some of them are going to be kept waiting a bit. Some of them are going to just have to accept the franchise tag. But that is where we're at here in 2023. Today, we're going to go over some of the top free agents here in 2023 just to get a good look at the landscape. I want you to comment in the comment section which running back you like the best. What do you think about their situations? Where do you think they'll sign? As I go over these running backs real quick with you, because it's very interesting. It is a deep class. But let's get this started with this one running back. A lot of high hopes for him over the last few years. Then he got released, bounced around a little bit. Now we're waiting to see where he goes, and that's Darrell Henderson. Formerly of Jacksonville Jaguars, formerly of the Rams, free agent, 25 years old, being valued as the RB83 off the board. He has 6 RB1 weeks on his career, 2 600-yard seasons on his career as well. Will probably land somewhere where he can compete for a roster spot, possibly be another back in a committee. That's probably the outlook here, but he really needs to turn it together really quick this offseason because the competition and the overall landscape at the running back spot is increasing. We're getting a lot of young guys coming into the league, and we'll also have a decent running back class in 2024. So really, he needs to step it up. He needs to play well. He needs to latch onto a roster now if he wants some longevity to his career from a fantasy football perspective. He's a cheap get. He's a guy on the back of your roster. He's a speculation. Nothing more, nothing less. You can still speculate on him because he still has some talent. He could still help a team, but you have to realize the upside's capped and the odds of him being an RB1 is no longer there. And we're looking at a guy who could help an NFL team, but that might not be impactful enough for fantasy football. Next running back we're going to talk about today has been productive this season, probably the best season of his career. Very good in the passing game, but he's getting older. And that's Jerrick McKinnon of the Kansas City Chiefs. He turns 31 in May. RB46 right now in startup ADP. He had 3 RB1 weeks this year. Very productive season. Very stout in the passing game. Very athletic. Very smooth. Very quick. For his fantasy football stock, he needs to sign with the Chiefs or it's a wrap. It's a wrap. He's 31 years old. Where else is he going to go? Where else is he going to go to get this production? The Chiefs is where it's at. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm interested in re-signing him because I know what I'm getting. He's dependable. He can help you out. We've seen it, what we've seen out of him. He's been good this season. He had some good games last season in 2021 as well. So there's a lot of good things here. And you can really have a dependable asset here and still get more running backs to add to the roster or just build up at other positions. Still 31 years old. The end's coming sooner than later. Going to another veteran running back, and this guy's a between the tackles pounder, probably best as a backup or in a committee, but you know what? He's had some productive weeks in his career. We're looking at Samaje Perine, running back for the Bengals, former Oklahoma Sooner, big-time power lifter, 27-year-old running back, RB51 right now in startup ADP. Had 3 RB1 weeks this season. Whenever Joe Mixon was out, he was the fall guy. He was the guy getting it done, and he proved that he could be productive. He's a big pounder, but he's dependable. Catches the ball in the backfield, can run well between the tackles. Showed that at Cincinnati. Showed that back in Oklahoma. He's valuable to an NFL team. Fantasy football-wise, though, it might not be happening, but he could be a speculation piece, especially for deeper dynasty leagues, for the back end of your roster, just in case he goes somewhere, just in case he gets the opportunity to shine. Odds of him hitting big for you are not that good, but still patch-up pieces everybody needs in dynasty fantasy football. Going to another running back, another aging veteran, who is on the last leg of their career, showed some signs of life last year, but we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's Raheem Mostert of the Miami Dolphins, hitting free agency, turns 31 in April, which is ancient for a running back. RB45 in ADP right now, had 3 RB1 weeks last year, so he can have some spot production for you. 891 rushing yards, so did well. There are rumors that he might get re-signed by the Dolphins, which makes sense because he's not a hot commodity on the market. It's not like everyone's going to be reaching out for him. They got 891 yards out of him, 3 RB1 weeks, so he's shown some productivity. Kind of makes sense. But the long game is not here for him in Dynasty. So wherever he goes, whatever he's doing, even if it's good, even if it's bad, it's not for long. This next running back seems older than expected, but if you've been paying attention to him, you know he can be productive in the right situation if things go well, if the depth chart opens up. And that's Foreman, formerly from the Panthers, turns 27 in April, RB49 in startup ADP right now. Can be productive if given that role. Big running back, big pounder. Look for him to change situations. Look for him to be on another team. Look for him to be in a committee. Look for him to earn his opportunity sometime during the season. Older running back, had some big injuries on his career, so the long term isn't there with him either, but still, all running backs in this range, RB 50-ish and later, are just speculation running backs anyways. Going to another running back here. A lot of people love this running back. A lot of people loved him when he was coming out of the draft. Still just 25 years old. Still can be productive in the right spot. Might still stay with his team. Who knows? But it's Devin Singletary. Like I said, he's 25 years young, so he's got some more years left ahead of him. He's RB37 in startup drafts right now, so he's holding some value. Had 4 RB1 weeks this season, 11 on his career. He's a dependable scat back, runs well between the tackles for his size, had 50 targets a year and about 170 carries a year as well, around that range. So he can get a sizable workload, and no matter where he goes, it seems like when you throw in his potential price tag, that workload seems like it's very evident wherever he lands in free agent, whether it's still with the Bills, whether it's with another team. 50 targets, 170 carries, just seems realistic depending on where he goes still, but it just seems realistic on a lot of spots where he gets signed to. This next running back, backup running back, who was productive whenever he got the opportunity to play, the opportunity to start. Turns 25 in June. He's still young. That's Alexander Mattison, formerly from the Vikings. Right now is being valued as the RB40. Had 474 touches on his career, so we got some tread left on the tires. 5 RB1 weeks on his career, which is important because he averaged 20 PPR fantasy points per game. When he's starting in place of Dalvin Cook, he can be productive, and he's looking to go to a spot where he can get that opportunity, where he can get more touches, more volume, more workload. He's a guy you want to low-key look at as a speculation piece this offseason. And another running back here who's getting older, who can be productive, that you may want to look at here in free agency, might get re-signed by their own team because that makes sense, is Jamaal Williams of the Detroit Lions. Turns 28 in April, being valued as the RB35, had his best season of his career, 5 RB1 weeks, 1,000 yards, 17 touchdowns, 1,000 touches on his career, 1,075. So there is some tread left on the tires. It hasn't been overworked. Detroit has been a great fit for him, and he's a great fit for Detroit. He's a smart, efficient back. Catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. Pounder between the tackles. Can get you touchdowns. Wherever he goes, he's going to be a good asset for his NFL team because he's a good player. Maybe he signs with Detroit. I feel like that's a good fit for him. I think that's a good fit for both teams. But if he goes elsewhere, I think he can be a dependable asset from fantasy going forward. If he goes to a good situation, obviously value goes up. If he goes to a bad situation where there's a lot of other guys, obviously things get a little sticky. You just got to play it by ear. The next guy is a kind of sticky. Had some injuries flare up on him. He's getting older now. Had a really odd career due to his odd situation. That's Damon Harris from the Patriots, formerly from the Patriots, might I say. 26 years old, RB41 right now in startup drafts. 489 touches on his career. Injuries have been a problem. They have limited his opportunities. Had 4 RB1 weeks over the course of his career. Hasn't been super productive. Hasn't been able to step up and just take the role. Situation health is going to be very important for him in fantasy going forward. If he goes to a good situation, his value goes up. If he stays healthy, he can be dependable and continue to get touches. All those are big question marks going forward. He's not a back that can go to a bad spot or compete with other good backs and come out ahead. He needs to be in a prime spot for him to rise in value in Dynasty Fantasy Football, especially when you throw in all these good running backs. A running back like him can be caught on the outside looking in. Going on to another running back who has been productive, who has been good throughout his career that we can look at here and might be going to a good situation, might not, but he's going to be a guy everyone's going to be watching, is David Montgomery from the Bears, and sounds like he's looking for big money. We saw that in the news. Bears are probably going to move on from him. He turns 26 in June, has 1,070 touches on his career, 4 RB1 weeks, 5 RB2 weeks last year. Hasn't rushed for 1,000 yards since 2020. Again, it sounds like he wants to get paid. Sounds like he's going to be testing the market. We want to see what the market does with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a back that sits there for a little bit, considering with how deep this market is with the rookies, with the free agents. Let's see where he goes. Let's see how his value is going to turn into when he signs with his next team. Another running back here has really been hit with injuries throughout his career, who, if he goes in the right spots, if he becomes an important piece in a committee, might be able to give us some fantasy production. But that's if he stays healthy. Big gamble here. Very cheap running back, though, in fantasy. Rashaad Penny, formerly of the Seahawks, turns 27 years old. RB 63 in startup drafts, 364 touches on his career, so about a season and a half of touches on his career so far. Injuries has killed his career, though. It's plagued him off and on. It's not very dependable due to that, but sometimes he shows some signs of life. Had 4 RB1 weeks back-to-back almost in 2021, was an electric, speedy runner then. Would be a solid athletic back in a committee, a guy who's getting part-time work, who, if things open up for a short stretch, could give you some big results, but I would not expect him to hit it big anywhere, and if he does, it ain't going to be for long, because that's what history has told us, but a guy to keep an eye on. It's not going to be for long, but a guy to keep an eye on just in case. And he's so cheap right now that he's free. He is damn near free. Is this a recommendation? No. But is the spot price free? Yeah, it's free. Moving on to another running back here who could make waves in free agency. This could be a big money situation for him in terms of fantasy. We could see some uptick here because he has been dependable. He's good in the passing game. Big back, can run it between the tackles. We're talking about Kareem Hunt from the Cleveland Browns. He's RB36, 27 years old, 1,106 touches on his career. He's very dependable, good in the passing game, can really be a big piece in his next NFL team, can really get touches, can really be a good asset, which could be a good difference maker in fantasy in the right game scripts. Even if he ends up back in Cleveland, we know what he can be there. He could be that much and more in another spot. He's another free agent running back to keep an eye on this free agency. We're starting to get into the heavy hitters of this free agency class. We got some good running backs here, and it's only getting better. But this guy's electric. This guy catches the ball in the backfield. Anything can happen this free agency. We're talking about Miles Sanders of the Eagles, being drafted as the RB24, turns 26 in May. Only 863 touches on his career. Has been bit by injuries during his career, especially earlier in his career as well, but has some tread on the tires. Had his best season this year with over 1,200 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, and can be productive. This is going to spike his price in free agency. Could be back with the Eagles, could be off in free agency. This guy's going to be looking to maximize his value, considering this is his peak time to strike, considering he just had the best year of his career, considering he looked good. So there's a lot to look at with Miles Sanders. Another running back here that is very interesting, that a lot of people love in fantasy football. Tony Pollard from the Dallas Cowboys. RB15 right now. turns 26 in April, 631 touches on his career, ended the season with an injury, had to have surgery, had 6 RB1 weeks, 4 RB2 weeks. He's expected to receive the franchise tag, so he's expected to be back in Dallas. Zeke is no longer an issue for him. The biggest issue is if they bring in another back from this rookie draft class. Good chance of that considering how deep it is. There's going to be talent in all the rounds. Pollard holds his own no matter what. He'll get touches no matter what. He is very electric. He only needs a few, and he can be productive in fantasy. If they do draft a back with good draft capital, you're going to catch him at a discount, which isn't a bad thing because Tony Pollard's damn good. Another running back here is damn good that a lot of people are going to be watching this offseason. He's going to be catching some news. It's Josh Jacobs from the Raiders being valued as the RB10 in startup drafts, 25 years old, 1,232 touches on his career, 9 RB1 weeks, 3 RB2 weeks. Looks like he's going to be hitting the open market. There's a chance he gets the franchise tag. He said he'll play on it if they load up at other positions, but he also stated he's not interested in playing on the franchise tag. So that being said, sounds like he wants to be with a contender. Sounds like he's got his options open. Sounds like he's reading all the tea leaves, which he should. He's had some injuries off and on throughout his career from now to when he was back in Alabama. So he really needs to maximize his opportunity here in free agency because he just had this huge year. He just had this blow-up season, and he really needs to cash in and catch that bag. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to another team, gets paid. One of the few running backs who probably will catch a bag this offseason. This next running back, the last running back of the day, should catch a bag wherever he goes. That's Saquon Barkley from New York Giants. RB5 right now in startup drafts, 26 years old, 1,201 touches on his career, 7 RB1 weeks, 6 RB2 weeks. We have a lot of what could have, should have's due to the injuries on his career, but he's a very talented running back prospect, considered a generational talent coming out of Penn State. He was offered a $12 million extension during the bye week. That didn't happen. The franchise tag seems realistic, but the open market would be very interesting to see who's willing to pay top dollar for Saquon Barkley because he would be an expensive get on the open market. But those are some free agent running backs that we are looking at this offseason. There are probably more. I pulled these off Spot Track, so they could be wrong on some stuff. I've caught them wrong on some things throughout the years. I'm going to keep that on the reel. So if there's some other guys I missed, let me know in the comments. Or if some of you guys aren't really free agents, or you got some thoughts on them, let me know too. I want to hear about it. But make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I'm only here to help you out with your Dynasty teams, get you the info, keep you entertained, everything else. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.